So, you've acquired your first laser drill beacon, and you're wanting to prepare yourself as much as you can for the Crusher Caverns, the endgame PvE dungeon on Crescent Falls. This guide will break down the dungeon itself, each room and the challenges they present, as well as the most optimal strategies to clear the dungeon quickly and efficiently, along with maximizing your profit. If this video helps you out, then I'd hugely appreciate it if you like, comment, and share the video around with your fellow prospectors, as well as subbing to the channel. We're extremely close to YouTube partner. Thank you all for the recent support. With that out of the way, let's get started with the craft. For 49,000 K-Marks, 3 derelict explosives, 4 interactive screens, 1 legendary data drive, and 80 Osiris grip, you can create 1 beacon per craft. It takes 2.5 hours, so you may be spending another 40 or so K, just skip it if you're in a rush. The beacon also weighs only 6 kilograms, so you can very easily keep it secured in your safe pockets. It is heavily advised that you attempt the dungeon as a 3-man, and wear at least epic tier armor, and the following segments in this video will operate under the assumption you have such a team. The dungeon entrance itself is located here, and can be accessed via 2 main routes that move in from the northeast or the southeast. Once you've arrived, you may use your beacon upon the focus crystal seal, and wait whilst the orbital laser does its work. After a short time, the seal will break, and you can proceed into the dungeon. The dungeon itself has 4 rooms, each with differing amounts of creatures and challenges. Each room will require a different approach to strategy, with the 4th room being the Alpha Crusher room, the big bad final boss of the caverns. Moving through the dungeon will require you to mine through several crystal seals at various points, and you will come across smaller packs of creatures, loot rooms, and resupply crates as you progress through. Now you understand the general layout of the Crusher Caverns, let's talk about the specifics and start with Room 1. Room 1 is by far the easiest room. 1 Savage Marauder spawns most of the time, with a large group of both mature rattlers and heavy striders to accompany it. Clear them out while sticking to the edges of the room, as walking into the pool of water in the middle will spawn ticks. Once you've mined through the crystal seal, you'll come across a wide open cavern which requires you to jump onto the central rock here to cross over. Falling into the water below will spawn ticks. After not managing to fall, you will move on through, and the first loot room of the dungeon will be on your right, with resupply crates just next to the crystal seal that leads to the second room. Room 2 is where it gets trickier. There will be far more savage marauders and mature rattlers, a smaller amount of heavy striders, but also a freely roaming crusher. Your priority in this room is to deal with the marauders as quickly as possible, especially the ones sitting upon the central column, since they will non-stop barrage you with both acid puddles and spit attacks. Have 2 members of your team immediately mantle onto the ledge on the left as you enter the room. Clear the rattlers quickly, and start working on the nearby marauders, whilst 1 team member hangs back and deals with the acid ticks to your immediate right before moving to gain the attention of the crusher and keep it away whilst the marauders are being worked on. Utilize the various ledges throughout the room smartly to avoid melee damage from creatures, and pay attention to who the marauders and crushers are attacking so you can dodge them accordingly. And, once again, stay out of the water to avoid spawning additional acid ticks. Once every other creature has been dealt with, finish the crusher and proceed onwards. There will be a section with a bunch of resupply crates as you move through the crystal seal, and moving further downwards you will come across a pack of heavy striders down past the jump, led by a savage marauder who comes from further up towards the 3rd room. The second loot room of the dungeon will be on your right after you jump down, but be careful looting. The Alpha Crusher will roar at some point and spawn both another wave of heavy striders and acid ticks, so don't get caught unawares. After you're done killing everything and looting the room, proceed upwards and prepare yourself for Room 3. Room 3 is easily the hardest room before the boss room. It has a similar layout to the second room, though instead of a savage marauder upon the central column, there will be a crusher instead, as well as another free roaming crusher, mature rattlers on the outer ledges, savage marauders throughout the room, and a lot more heavy striders. The strategy here is to have everyone in your party immediately deal with the marauders to your right. After they've been killed, have 2 of your party kill the crusher upon the central column as fast as possible, whilst your 3rd teammate deals with any heavy striders that run at you whilst dodging the rattlers' attacks. Once the central crusher is dead, mantle upon a ledge and deal with the remaining rattlers and marauders before targeting the final crusher. Have all 3 of your teammates targeted and kill it, and mop up the remaining striders after. At the end of Room 3, you will find more resupply crates. Make sure you stock up as much as possible here, and ready yourself for the Alpha Crusher room. The final room has a large main area with 2 pillars in the middle, and with an upper area at the back where the Alpha Crusher sits, accessed by a main front ramp and a smaller path to the right. Next to the smaller path will be a rock outcrop, which you'll be posting a teammate on. This teammate will deal with additional creatures out of melee range that spawn throughout the fight, of which there will be many, and dodge any range attacks that come their way. The other two's main focus will be kiting the Alpha Crusher up and down from the upper area into the main area, dodging both its melee and range attacks whilst dealing damage to it. Much like regular Crushers, you can stagger the Alpha Crusher by shooting it at its ankles so you can easily attack the weak spot on its back, though it will require both teammates to coordinate simultaneous attacks on one ankle to stagger it quickly. Otherwise, it'll take much longer to do so. At intervals, large waves of blast ticks will spawn, which must be dodged and made to explode quickly, otherwise you will be overwhelmed by them. Alongside these ticks will spawn either packs of heavy striders, or a single savage marauder. The striders must be dealt with quickly by any teammate available, but everyone must quickly focus the marauder before it starts spitting acid and puddles at you. Alongside those additional waves also, the Alpha Crusher will spawn another wave of acid ticks upon being damaged down to a certain percentage of its health pool. Shoot these acid ticks without exploding them if you are able, otherwise just kill them. Rinse and repeat until the Alpha Crusher dies, and mop up the remaining creatures left, as well as any other waves they may spawn after. The Alpha Crusher primarily drops its heart, which will be required for endgame quarters upgrades, legendary item crafts, and Badham's task line, alongside Crusher Hide, Flesh, and the extremely rare and valuable Alpha Crusher Head. Once you're done looting the army of creatures you've killed, proceed through the final crystal seal and enjoy the final loot room. The main crate can give you anything up to exotic gear and guns, creature heads, abyss alloys, and any of the beacons used for endgame activities. There will also be several loot containers around the room, as well as loot weapon and armor spawns, with a focus crystal cave up to the right of the room if you wanted to top up. Once you've stuffed your bags to the brim and caught your breaths, move out of the dungeon and drop back into the main area of the map and quickly move to your extract. Now that you know how to tackle the dungeon and deal with each room, let's close on some useful tips and strategies you can employ to make your dungeon runs more efficient and less prone to casualties. Firstly, if able to, I would heavily suggest all your teammates to use Core 47s for your runs. They simply outperform every other gun when it comes to PvE, and if you all use Epic Tier extended magazines, you can also kill the normal crushers throughout the dungeon with one mag each and a bit of coordination. Otherwise, brutes and hammers will work reasonably well as long as you're accurate enough with them. Epic Tier creature damage mods will make a lot of difference here too. Secondly, if you are unable to run forged gear, I would highly suggest Epic Tier armor sets with restoration perks on. The passive healing will help out a lot during your constant sprinting away from danger, and is extremely useful in the final boss room especially. Consider bringing an additional chest armor with you also, just in case your primary armor gets heavily damaged. Thirdly, bring heavy mining tools to quickly break through the various crystal seals throughout the Crusher Caverns. It will help you progress through the dungeon exponentially. Fourthly, you may be worried about the costs of ammo here, especially if you're using exotic guns. The trick here is to not bring in too much ammo and resupply off the ammo that's available to you via the resupply crates in the dungeon itself. This will cut down on ammo costs, and as long as you're diligent with your ammo and efficient with it, all 3 team members should have more than enough ammo to go around by the time you reach the final room. And lastly, but definitely not leastly, be extremely vigilant of players coming in behind you and ambushing you whilst you clear through each room and corridor. Clearing each room as quickly and efficiently as possible will of course help you quickly be able to deal with any potential third parties, but don't be afraid to quietly find angles and hold whilst making as little noise as possible if you suspect you're about to receive uninvited guests. Losing a teammate because of impatience will make it extremely hard for you to actually finish the dungeon, or make it outright impossible to clear the Alpha Crusher. So make smart choices, don't rush. And thus concludes this Ultimate Crusher Caverns guide. Hopefully it helps you out, and brings you much fortune and glory in your many dungeon runs to come. That's it for now though guys, I'll see you in the next video. Take care, stay safe, happy dungeon diving, and peace.